Preseason game one for the Baltimore Ravens is in the books, and what we saw, well, there was plenty to learn from it. Some good, some bad, and some downright ugly. However, resisting the temptation to overreact to a preseason game, we are going to look into exactly what we saw Thursday night and what it means for this Super Bowl run for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm Rob Love, and season 2 of One Flock kicks off right now. Let's go.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Man, I get so excited every time I hear that song. One flock, we come together. How you doing? It's Rob Love. Welcome back. It's been a long off season, and yes, I have missed you. Hopefully you've missed being here as well. But we're back and ready for an absolutely thrill-filled season that we all hope ends with a Super Bowl for Lamar Jackson, the first one, and the Baltimore Ravens. I really do believe it's going to happen this year, and there's plenty of reasons to be optimistic. But I'm so glad that all of you have decided to tune in. We're nearing 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't already subscribed, please take the opportunity to do so now and hit a like while you're here, because we are one flock and this family is just growing. 1,000 subscribers is going to be a big deal for us. So I think right now we're at just over 800. Not too far away. Maybe we'll make it after this episode. But anyhow, you know why we're here. We are here to talk about this preseason game. And I know what you're saying. Preseason games, a lot of people don't even bother watching them. They're not seeing the real full season playbook yet. The starters aren't getting heavy snaps. The plays you see on both the offense and the defense, they're mostly vanilla. It's nowhere near the complex schemes that we're going to see during the regular season. But all that being said, here's the reason the preseason is still absolutely worth watching. As I think about it, there's a lot we can learn from these games. For starters, the Ravens' 53-man roster has not been set yet. And what happens during these preseason games is really going to help solidify what that roster is going to look like. You've got guys out there who are playing for their professional lives. And those positions that we've been eyeballing where we might be soft right now, whether that be offensive line, the linebacker positions, who's going to rise as our supported cornerback, who's the backup quarterback. These roster spots could launch careers and change the outcome of the Ravens season depending on how things unfold. So there's plenty for us to pay attention to, and that's exactly what we're going to be breaking down. And we saw plenty of things Thursday night that are starting to give us a clear picture of what we can expect there. Will TJ Tampa finally flash? There's a question. We've been looking for a lot of potential from him. How about Trenton Simpson? Will he back up all the hype we've been hearing about? That's something I was looking forward to see in game 1. I'll also be looking in game 2 and 3, and you should be as well. David Ojabo, we took him in the second round. Is he ready to break out? And what about the rookies? Lots of hype around these rookies we got this year. Are they ready to contribute now? Do we have a capable backup behind Lamar Jackson? There's plenty to take away from these preseason games, and no, we're not going to overreact to any of it because that historically has been a trap for many. But we are going to break down the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there was plenty of all three, so let's get into it. Where better to start than the good? And there was plenty of good. Now, I've been saying, you guys, when we ended last season, and as we broke into our final episode of last season, when we were breaking down the opening of the NFL draft, my comment was, and I still maintain this, they're starting off the Ravens because what they were able to do was preserve, pretty much unchanged, the number one offense in all of football. Last year, there was no question. The number one offense in all of football was the Baltimore Ravens, and that offense is virtually back. That being said, anything they picked up in the draft or in the free agency would have just been a bonus. And we know those bonuses with DeAndre Hopkins, D-Hop coming in the building. That was a big plus. The defense ended the season, number one defense in the country. And we did have some pieces that we needed to replace on the defense. So there were some questions about how we would do that. But as I think you'll see as we talk about it today, we're good there. But the biggest good thing that I saw in Thursday night's game had nothing to do with the defense. We'll get to that. There was plenty of good there. The biggest thing. Well, let's not get to the biggest thing yet. Let's see that tease. I shouldn't have done that. The most consistent thing, let's go with that first. The first good thing, we won. We won 24-16. That's nothing new for the Ravens. The Ravens have been winning preseason games at a click that no one else has done for a very long time. John Harbaugh takes these games very seriously, and it's a Ravens tradition to win these games. Right now, we've got an NFL best 26-6 record since 2016. And of course, this win continues that winning tradition for the Baltimore Ravens in the preseason. But the biggest news for me, and for many that I've heard talking about this game, was Keaton Mitchell's return to dominance on the field. We know what Keaton Mitchell looked like and why, as Ravens flock, we were so excited when Keaton Mitchell burst on the scene a couple of years ago as this speedy bullet out of the backfield who knew how to make guys miss, who knew how to finish plays, whether you were letting him run it out of the backfield or where you were tossing a pass to him out of the backfield. He just was a big play threat whenever he was on the field. I mean, his yards per carry, his yards per reception were like numbers we'd never seen before. And then he got hurt. Even the play that he got hurt on, it was explosive. One might say it was the power of his own explosiveness that caused the true damage to his joint when he planted incorrectly. And that knee just, we were worried. We didn't know if he would come back with that same burst. Last year when he did return, that burst wasn't there. You could tell he was a little tentative with his explosiveness. And mentally, for a lot of guys who have those types of injuries, that's the part they never can get over. They're afraid of having that injury again, and so they never stick it with that burst. Well, Thursday night, Keaton Mitchell removed any concern about whether that injury is going to prevent him from being explosive, because that is exactly what he was. Let's look at his stats. He had 9 carries for 68 yards, 1 touchdown, and let's see what his yards per carry were. 7.6 yards per carry. That is outstanding. The home run speed that Keaton Mitchell now has put back on display with his elusiveness, the way he finished those plays, the way he hit the hole with burst, that makes him the third head on this 3-headed monster that we have at the running back position. We know what we have with Derrick Henry. We're not going to see him in the preseason. We don't need to see Derrick Henry in the preseason. He's a Hall of Fame running back who is maybe the biggest, most powerful, most just straight down your throat runner in the game. Maybe ever. Then we have Justice Hill, who has emerged as a real weapon, an elite pass blocker out of the backfield with an elusive style of running and plenty of speed to go with it. Look at his highlight reel from last year. And then Keaton Mitchell is going to run like this again? Arguably, with those 3 running backs in the backfield, this may be the best. I'm not going to say maybe. This is hands down the best running back room in the NFL. Maybe the best running back room in Ravens history. And let's not forget that in addition to those 3 backs, King Henry, Justice Hill, and this Keaton Mitchell, re-emergent as the speedy, powerful. He's added power. Did you see the bulk that he's put on, the strength? Added to those 3 is Lamar Jackson, the best mobile quarterback of all time. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? A lot of people are. A lot of people are agreeing with us that the offense, because of what we have coming just from this aspect of the game, and we haven't got to the other good stuff yet, is going to be really scary. The Baltimore Ravens are going to be really scary. This is good, but not just the running game. Let's look at the wide receiver depth. The wide receiver depth is something that we saw a glimpse of in this preseason game as well. LaJohntay Wester was the second biggest whoa behind Keaton Mitchell, in my opinion. LaJohntay Wester electrified us all. Now, the 87-yard touchdown run or punt return for a touchdown that everybody is still talking about, and we see why. I mean, he turned something that looked like it should have been stopped way back when. His decision-making and the way he hit that run and the pull-away speed. LaJohntay Wester is the real deal. If you look at even the return that he did before that one, it looked like he should have been stuck right when he caught the ball. But the shiftiness and explosiveness through the hole, making something out of nothing. That's what I'm seeing with this kid. This kid has some amazing speed and field vision. See, those two things don't always come together. There's some guys that are fast, but they don't see the field well, so they run into trouble as opposed to away from it. Then there's other guys that have great field vision, but they don't have the speed to break away. So they make the right move, but they get caught. LaJohntay Wester showed us on Thursday night that he not only has the raw speed, 4.3 speed, but this young man has it here. His field vision, the way he was able to adjust that field on the fly and put his speed to boot to make it, oh man, special. That's depth. Remember, we've already got the best wide receiver room that I've seen on the Ravens. We've got a Rashad Bateman. We've got Zay Flowers. We've got D-Hop. And a LaJohntay Wester that has that type of potential behind him and his special teams return guy? Come on. Oh, we needed a return guy to be special. And this looks like we may have found that guy. We learned that, if nothing else, on Thursday night. Now, remember, in training camp, we were all excited about another young wide receiver, Devonshire Walker. He was impressing, strong in training camp. Remember, these are the things that we're looking for. Depth at wide receiver. How often have the Ravens had injuries midseason where, Zay Flowers has to sit out for a while, or Rashad Bateman has to sit out for a while, or some other wide receiver that we lean on heavily. And then, we had to wonder about what we were bringing off the bench. Well, when you have a LaJohntay Wester, you have a Devonshire Walker. Let's not forget, Tylan Wallace proved what he could do in the playoffs last year. We've seen him pull off amazing, crisp running. His route running is nice. His field IQ, very good. And he doesn't get nervous. He doesn't just fumble up he doesn't give up the ball like that. I mean, Tylan Wallace has proven what he is. So when you got the starters we have, and then you add to it these guys on the bench, the wide receiver depth that we are showing right now is providing a formidable receiving core that Lamar Jackson just has not had at his disposal in his entire career as a professional. That gets me excited. So when you couple the wide receiver depth that we're seeing with this team, with that running back room that we know is the best running back room maybe we've ever seen on any team ever, this has me feeling better and better about my prediction that this is the Ravens' year. This is the Ravens' year. More good stuff, though. If we want to move away from the offense, we slide over from the offense and look at the defense. Remember, both groups, number one, last year. The defense lost more pieces, and we were hoping with the emergence of Kyle Van Noy in his second breath of his career as a true threat on the defensive line, and then with Adafe becoming what we really were hoping to see from him, a real disruption on the other side of that defensive line. We got excited when we heard about this Mike Green guy. And Mike Green, I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to be the first to say it, but I have to say it. Mike Green is looking like he may be a prodigy on the defensive line. What he was doing, and it's not just, his stats were nice. If you look at it, he had 3 tackles, he had credited with half a sack, and he had 1 quarterback hit. But if you look at the disruption and how he was having an effect on the game, it was unbelievable what he was doing. He had the bend, he had the burst, he was manipulating. Even when his initial move didn't work, the way he was able to change. I saw one play when he jumped in the air and tried to get the guy off. When that didn't work, he immediately went down low and like creeped up under. The offensive lineman could not adjust to what he was doing. What this athlete, this special athlete called Mike Green is able to do, we are going to really be talking about him for a while. I think that what we have in Mike Green is something special, and we saw that on full display Thursday night. Get excited, Ravens, because Mike Green is the real deal. You remember we talked about this when we got Kyle Hamilton, when we were talking about what a unique athlete he was because of the things he was able to do. I mean, it's just, there are gifts in athletes that just, you can't teach. And what Mike Green was doing, something special there. So hopefully we'll continue to see that type of display. We got 2 more preseason games. I'm sure he's going to get plenty of snaps. At some point, they may decide to, limit his snaps because of, there's really not much for him to prove. Malachi Starks, he was out there for a short bit, looked good, but immediately got pulled because, of course, the coaching staff, I'm sure, is like, we don't need to see much more of him. And probably with Mike Green, you may see some of that as well. But Jay Higgins, another addition to the defense, another linebacker, the rookie linebacker, he made his presence felt. 6 tackles, 1 interception. He had 1 pass breakup, and that was on 4th down. Big time plays. Now, again, I know these guys are playing against not the number ones for the Indianapolis Colts. However, they're rookies playing against pros. And when they come out and have this type of impact and are able to settle into the defense like this, it shows promise. They show great awareness. And Jay Higgins, his awareness in coverage and in physicality and getting to the run was just impressive, and it was noteworthy. Remember, these guys are coming into a defensive unit that is already stacked. So they're able to come in without the pressure being on them of, I got to do everything. And they can really get into the system, be groomed by our vets. And when you've got young talent like this, it's just really nice. But one of the guys that I was most excited about, now, look, I keep saying most excited about, I was super excited about Mike Green. I love what Jay Higgins did. But did you pay attention to what Bo Braid was doing out there? He led the team 8 total tackles. And when I say he was all over the field, he was all over the field. The guy was in run support. He was in pass coverage. It seemed like he was everywhere the ball was. A true ball hawk. And when he got there, Bo knows how to tackle. Okay? Bo knows how to tackle. These guys we're talking about right here are all young and having impacts at a high level on the defense. Adisa Isaac. Whew. He's a rookie. On edge, the 3rd round pick from Penn State. He flashed. He had an explosive burst off the edge. He had 1 sack. He had 1 tackle for a loss. And he did this all on limited snaps. Remember, you're talking about a guy who is going to be part of a room that already has Cal Van Noy, Adafe, Mike Green, and Adisa Isaac showing up like this is really pushing another guy who we knew we were going to be looking for to show something, and that is David Ojabo. David Ojabo, he looked healthy, and he looked ready to do what he's supposed to do. I mean, he was ready to contribute. He added 1 sack as well. And that sack, that sack, look at this. Now, I hear people, let me say this, because I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, Ojabo was given a gift. Well, yes, A.J. Richardson didn't make the right read. He should have hit his hot route. He did not. But quit talking about don't try to discredit what Ajabo did by saying he was given a gift. You know how many times I've seen where guys were given a gift in football and they still didn't capitalize on the play? Just because you give it to them, you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. So what if the guy misread the play? You're supposed to stick it to him. Here's my question. Did Ajabo stick it to him? Whoa, look at this. Ugh. Yeah, that's sticking it to him. That's sticking it to him. That's ugh. I mean, he laid it to, and A.J. Richardson is a big quarterback. Ajabo hit him and hit him with intention. Look at this. That pinky, they said that's just a dislocation. Oh, I thought that thing was broke. I thought it was about to fall off. But apparently, it's just a dislocation, and he's expected to play going forward. So good for Richardson. Glad nothing long-term there. But Ajabo looked good. So as a unit, we talked about all these guys and what they look like. The defense forced 2 turnovers. They logged 3 sacks. And again, that's a big step because, again, we're looking at backups. We heard all offseason how the team was talking about they're focusing on that stat that's really ugly that shows that in the Lamar Jackson era, our defense, as good as they've been year over year, have absolutely been one of the worst in the league as far as getting possessions during the playoffs. They don't turn the other team over. And that's a big deal because Super Bowl winning teams, that's a stat that is almost always there. Their defense gets them the ball, gets them extra possessions. And our defense has failed at that at a terrible click during the playoffs. So they've been talking about this, creating pressure that allows them to get those possessions. And that's something that's been missing. But when we see these young guys putting this type of emphasis, why are they putting so much emphasis on that? It's got to be because that's what the practices have been like. It's got to be what the vets have been talking about. So you have to get excited when you see this type of display from the rookies, the bench guys. Now, this last thing that I want to talk about on good, it started off not looking good. I'll just say that. But I'm going to put it in the good category, and I'll explain. I want to talk about our new kicker. The post-Tuck era has begun. Did I say that right? The post-Tuck era has begun. And you want to talk about pressure? Try being a point guard on the Chicago Bulls the year after Michael Jordan retired. You know what I mean? There's pressure. The GOAT retires, and you got to step into the shoes. Well, the kicker had a lot of jitters, and we know he had jitters because his very first kick from 47 yards was nothing like it was ever going to go in, and he missed that bad boy, and my goodness, if your heart dropped like mine, it was like, oh my goodness, do we have a kicker? But his next kick, a 52-yard cannon right down the middle that carried high into the net. That thing could have easily been hit from 62 yards. And suddenly, the kicker, I'm feeling good about. Because for him to follow up that first miss, get himself calmed down, what he put on display was that he not only has the leg, that ball didn't just sneak over the goalpost. It soared. It was plenty of distance. And then the accuracy. It didn't just barely get by, look like it was about to go left or right. From that distance, right down the middle. So that makes me optimistic, makes me hopeful. He got the jitters out with the first kick, and then he didn't miss any extra points. A 52-yarder right down the middle with that type of leg. I think the kid's going to be good. We got to give him a chance, got to let him get in there. But admittedly, after that first clinker, I was like, yeah, we might be. Kicker goes on the good list. Hold up. Before we get to the bad, let's not run from the good yet. The bad, we know we're going to get to that. And then, of course, the ugly. But, man, before we get to the bad, I got to talk about something really good that has nothing to do with the preseason game. We got something in the mail today. I keep talking about how great the flock is. We're a growing family. We just started this year, a new channel. And already we got our first, I don't know what it is, from Alfred, who's one of the flock all the way in Ontario, Canada. Alfred, thank you for sending me this. What he told me was, he said, look, man, I know you're going to appreciate this. So I'm going to, looks like the packaging was very well securely put together. So I'm going to try to open this carefully and see what Alfred has sent in. He told me that it, oh my goodness, wait a minute. I'm starting to think this may be something that I'm going to be very happy to put on the set here. Let me get this open here. Here we go. Here we go. We got cardboard so far, Alfred. I get plenty of cardboard. Wait a minute. Hold up. A lot of care here. I don't want to get too excited too early, but normally when you package something like this with all this cardboard, it's because you don't want it to get bent. You guys starting to think what I'm starting to think? All right, this is what I found inside the cardboard. And now we're going to carefully, very carefully, open up what's inside here. And here we have, what do we have? Do you see this? You guys seeing this? You see this, right? Alfred. Thank you. This Jacoby Jones, guys, number 12, the late, rest in peace, Jacoby Jones. This is signed. This is signed by him. This is Jacoby Jones, signed. And he sent me two. So one is definitely going in the studio, and the other, we're going to do some sort of giveaway. Courtesy of our friend Alfred, one of the flock. How in the world did you get two signed Jacoby Jones cards? This is amazing. Let me sit this down before I mess anything up. Thank you to Alfred in Ontario. Brother, we got to get you on the show. I don't know. You've got the email. For those of you who don't have it, it's on the screen right now. It is Rob Love at One Flock. That's the number one flock.online. Again, that's Rob Love at One Flock.online. I'm still kind of blown away by that. Jacoby Jones, guys, who can forget? We've been talking about how LaJohntay shined in that kickoff return in the game. Who gives me chills thinking back to the 2012 championship when Jacoby just broke loose for 109 yards, came 9 yards out of the backfield for that touchdown in the second half of the Super Bowl. Rest in peace, Jacoby. Wow. That's definitely going to be a favorite in my, we're going to figure out where that's going to go. Anyhow, thank you, Alfred. Looking forward to having you on the show. And I feel bad moving on to the bad now. That is really good. Thank you. But it has to happen. We have to do it. So roll that back. Oh, now the bad. And the bad was bad. And that's why we call it that. The bad was not good, not even close to good, but not ugly. We'll talk about that later too. And unfortunately, the offensive line woes is where we have to start with this. I'm going to say that Lamar Jackson for years has masked what has been underwhelming offensive line play for the Baltimore Ravens. When you don't have Lamar Jackson under center, then automatically those woes are going to be pushed to the forefront. How much of what we saw on Thursday night was a direct reflection of how poorly the offensive line play is? I don't know. But what I do know is that Daniel Falele struggled and was frequently beaten by Colts defenders. Now, let's not say that Daniel Falele was bad all the way around, or some people want to keep bringing up Pro Bowler Daniel Falele. Daniel Falele is a very big man, just shy of 400 pounds. If he understands how to use his leverage and positioning, he should be a force to be dealt with. Unfortunately, if you watched any of the breakdowns, Daniel Falele did not use leverage to his advantage. He got stood up by much smaller people where leverage was not in his favor. In fact, the play that we all know where he gave up the sack, that was absolutely horrible play. Now, given he did have some good plays, if you watch the whole game, there were some plays where Daniel Falele, specifically in run packages, did a good job. But here's the thing. Lamar Jackson is the best football player in the National Football League. And when you have that guy on your team and he's under center, the defense every week for the entire season is dreaming about peeling their ears back and taking that dude out. Because that is the case for the Baltimore Ravens every week, the offensive line is not an area where we can just continue to count on Lamar Jackson to save himself. You have to have not just mundane play, not even average play from the offensive line. You have to have a goal of having superb offensive line play to protect the best player in all of football. We do not have that. And it was abundantly clear in Thursday night's game, and it was bad. Now, Ben Cleveland, we've been hearing the call for Ben Cleveland. Why doesn't he get more snaps? Why don't we see more Ben Cleveland at guard? We know there's some issues between him and Harbaugh, but we extended Ben Cleveland. So if we're going to extend him, why not at least use him in an attempt to provide better protection for your star quarterback, Lamar Jackson? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Maybe Harbaugh is planning to give Ben Cleveland a shake during the preseason to see if he can put up better numbers, better protection. And by better, I mean better than this. Look at this. This right here is what PFF graded Daniel Falele with. His overall grade was a 40.7. Now that number in itself may not mean much to you. But you want to know how bad that is? A good grade is considered 70 plus. So in order to just be good, not great, not excellent, 70 would be good. Daniel Falele graded at a 40.7. That's just north of half of good, which we know is very bad. His grade in pass protection is probably the most inexcusable because, again, we're talking about in pass protection, who are you protecting? The quarterback while he's trying to pass the ball, which is when he can be blindsided. He graded 0 in pass protection. It gets no worse than that. Now, this is early. We don't want to overreact. I don't want to overreact, but I am feeling the nervousness. I dread Lamar Jackson being hit by some preventable defender who wasn't prevented from hitting him because of poor offensive line play. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to overreact. But I am nervous, and this is something that we need to look at. The only confidence I have is that Lamar Jackson has shown a prowess for protecting himself in spite of what has been subpar offensive line play many, many times. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Voorhees has some good moments. We need some improvement here, though. But let's continue. I mean, what else was bad? There was more bad. And I got to bring this up because if there's one area in this first preseason game that left me shaking my head, it's got to be the inside linebacker position. And why do I say that? Well, it's because coming into 2025, my expectation was that this unit would take a big leap. Many people had that same expectation, but instead, what I saw Thursday was many of the same problems that have plagued the Ravens for the last year. Trenton Simpson, big name last year. Everybody was so excited about him because Patrick Queen left, and then a lot of people were saying, oh, he's better than Patrick Queen anyway. He's better. We don't care about Patrick Queen leaving. And then Trenton Simpson came in, and he's just established himself as the center point of this disappointment in the inside linebacker position. He was drafted with high hopes of being the next great sideline guy to Roquan Smith. He entered with all kinds of hype, but he ended up being benched mid-year because he had inconsistent tackling. He was slow to the reads. He missed assignments in coverage. Let's fast forward to preseason game 1 this past Thursday, and unfortunately, we did not see the breakout that many of us were hoping for. He looked hesitant at times. He got caught in traffic too easily, and he didn't flash that game-changing instinct that we need if you're going to be at the heart of our defense. So what about the other guy? Well, we got a specimen. We picked up a new rookie, a true rookie in the draft this year, Teddye Buchanan, the rookie out of Cal. He's still getting his foot wet, so we're not going to be too harsh on him. You don't really expect that much from true rookies in their first preseason game. But his first live NFL action left a lot to be desired. He wasn't out of position on every play, but he also didn't make a single moment just stand out. Nothing that made you say, yeah, this is the guy that's ready to be an impact player. So for a Ravens defense that's built on aggressive, disruptive linebacker play, both Simpson and Buchanan are a long way from proving they can be trusted against top competition. Because remember, these guys were playing against not even the top competition. They were playing against the Colts' second and third string guys, and they couldn't pop against them. So some concern there. And I'm just going to put it into the bad, not ugly, but bad. We've got Roquan Smith still looking for the Robin to his Batman. You know what I mean? Also, a disappointment, and I'm going to put this in the bad category, that I saw in the supporting cornerback depth. Now, at cornerback, we know right now that we have the starters set. Best cornerback group in the NFL for our starters. But you know, cornerbacks, some of the most injured players in the NFL because of the nature of what they are asked to do. High speed, they're running, having to change direction, and they don't know when they're going to have to. So there's very violent changes of direction at high rates of speed. And a lot of times you see joint injuries for cornerbacks as a result. Look no further than the Ravens already, and we'll talk about more of that in a second. However, when you look at your cornerback depth, you've got to have quality guys ready to jump up and do something special. And at the center of what we've been waiting for in our depth is a guy we picked up last year, TJ Tampa. He was drafted with the idea he was going to be something special, but he never flashed. He never had any moments where we saw that playmaking ability that would earn him a bigger role, and thus he didn't get it. Well, many of us were hoping that this year would be his breakout, but we still haven't seen that breakout moment. No game-changing pass breakups, no sticky coverage that takes a receiver out of his play. So while it's early, the Ravens still need one of these depth corners to emerge, and so far Tampa really hasn't shown that he is that guy. And that's interesting because if you look at our depth, so here you see Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, Jair Alexander, TJ Tampa, and you got to be able to step up. You know, you got to be able to step up, TJ. So we'll see what happens with the rest of this season. We'll talk more about that cornerback room here in just a second, but certainly some room for improvement there. Well, that's it for the bad. So that's good. We didn't talk about bad for a long time, but that's right. Time for the ugly, the downright ugly, the opposite of what I look like. The ugliest thing in this game, which if you put it up against what anybody looks like, they're going to look good compared to what the quarterback play in this preseason game was like. Cooper Rush. I was excited when we picked him up as a backup quarterback because Who wouldn't be after watching what he did when he had to step in for Dak Prescott in so many games? He had experience. He ran an offense that was a high-octane offense. And he did it as well as any backup quarterback in the league for the stints in which he was called a punt. So when we picked up Cooper Rush for what seemed a good deal, I was excited. Well, it's early, and I'm not going to overreact. But the performance, limited though it was, and I want to stress that, he was only in for a short period of time. Most of the game was even uglier, but we'll get to that. Cooper Rush had an ugly moment in time for his debut with the Ravens. 2 of 4. 4 passes. He only completed half of them. 16 yards total. 1 interception. And his passer rating was 20.8. Now, that's downright horrible, folks. A passer rating of 20.8. Again, I'm not going to talk about it for a long time because he didn't play for a long time. I'm just going to say it was very ugly. But not to be outdone, Devin Leary took the field after Cooper Rush, did nothing but throw as many incompletions as completions, and infinitely more interceptions than he did touchdowns because he had no touchdowns and 1 interception. Devin Leary took the field and was even worse, as tough as that was to be. Devin Leary completed 3 of 12 passes for a grand total of 43 yards, 1 interception, and also no touchdowns. But his passer rating, I didn't know a passer rating could be this low. His passer rating was 7.3. Now, for those of you who don't know what a good passer rating is, we know a legendary passer rating. Lamar, he stays, Lamar was 119, whatever it was, perfect games Lamar's been throwing. But 7.3, you don't even have to know what the scale is. 7.3 is horrible. Ugly. 7.3. But just to give it perspective, and I didn't know this. I never would have had a reason to know this if both of our quarterbacks hadn't thrown such terrible games on Thursday. But did you know that if a quarterback were to spike the ball on every possession of the game, meaning he never completed a pass, he always spiked the ball, which resulted in losing yards, his quarterback rating for that game would be 39.6. Nearly double what Cooper Rush put on the field at 20.8. And yes, 5 times the quarterback rating that Devin Leary put on the field. Do I need to say more? Is there anything more ugly that you've ever seen? Now, how much of that horrible play for these two guys had to do with the offensive line? I don't know. I know it contributed. I know that when you have poor offensive line play, quick penetration on passing plays, when your guard, whose job is to guard the passer, has a 0 rating for pass protection, that's not going to help your passing accuracy or timing. But I couldn't watch any more balls just go flying way past the receivers and out of bounds. It was so unfair. We really can't. And that's why you won't hear me say anything bad about the wide receivers who really didn't pop. Because in this game, as poorly as the quarterback position was, there was no real opportunity for the wide receivers to show what they can do. And that probably was one of the most unfortunate things for those in that group. Because, when the balls are that bad, what can you do? It was it was ugly. I'm sorry, let's not call it bad. It was very, very ugly. Perhaps the only thing uglier, and I won't even say ugly, I'll say just as ugly as Leary's quarterback play that night, Thursday, his 7.3 passer rating, was what happened to rookie cornerback Bilhal Kone. Horrible non-contact injury, ugly injury. They cut the commercial immediately, of course. He suffered a tear in both his MCL and his ACL. His thigh was literally pointed one way, and his lower leg was pointed the other way. It was a no-contact injury. Very, very gruesome. And prayers for this young kid. It's a devastating blow. He's a rookie, just drafted. Excited about his career. Sure, his family was there. And to see that happen, you just wish the best for that young man. So, young man, just heal up, get your surgery, do your therapy, and we'll all be cheering for you to have a strong comeback. Take a lot of notes from Keaton Mitchell, who had a pretty bad injury as well, and is absolutely popping. He was part of our good today. But best of wishes to Bilhal Kone. But it didn't stop there with the ugliness. He's on IR now, so the cornerback room, which we already talked about, was part of our bad because nobody's really been popping for our depth. And we lose a player that we're hoping would be some of that. Robert Longerbeam, another 6th-round draft pick that we picked up, was also placed on IR this Saturday. Knee injury. He's out for the season. Remember, you've always heard me say that cornerback is where you have to have depth because of the amount of injuries, because of the nature of how cornerbacks are forced to play. The high speed, the changing of directions, trying to cover wide receivers who can prepare for their cuts better because the wide receivers know the routes. The wide receiver knows when he's going to stop, so he can prepare and get into his movement. Whereas the corners, they don't know when the wide receiver is going to shift. So when they shift, man, it's a lot more violent on their joints, not as much preparation for that movement, and thus you see a lot of injuries. 2 Ravens cornerbacks are out for the season, and the season hasn't even started yet. So you see why we need depth. Now, here's the breaking news that I want to drop for you guys right now. With both of these depth pieces in the cornerback room for the Ravens being gone, the Ravens, of course, wasted no time in trying to shore up their depth at cornerback, and they picked up MJ Devonshire. Now, here's some stuff I pulled together on MJ Devonshire, because you wouldn't have heard much about him in his pro career because he was just drafted last year. He was drafted in 2024 in the 7th round by the Raiders. He spent his rookie year on the practice squad before being traded over to Carolina. Didn't see any real action there. So most of his real action that we have to look at to kind of see what we're getting here came from his college career, where he started off at Kentucky, but transferred from there, so we won't hold that against him. He transferred to Pitt, and that's where he emerged as a dynamic player. Over his final 2 seasons, he notched, look here, 8 interceptions. 3 of those were returned for touchdowns. He amassed 84 tackles and 22 passes defensed. He earned second-team All-ACC honors as both the return specialist and a defensive back. And the notes on him all talked about his quick feet, his fluid hips, and ball-hawking instincts. He earned ACC Defensive Back of the Week, and that was after he did an 86-yard pick six. So the Ravens, seeing these kinds of stats of what he was able to do in college, you can imagine that they're betting on his versatility, which he obviously has, for covering wide receivers and impacting on special teams. And that can provide a meaningful boost to our secondary, which suddenly is down not 1, but 2 cornerbacks. I anticipate more opportunistic moves by the Ravens with the loss of these 2 corners, but we'll see what happens there. Again, we have great starters. Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, Jair Alexander, TJ Tampa, Awuzie. Those top 3, really, it gets no better than that. But if someone goes down, who's coming in? Who's going to cover? Who's going to be there? You see why, again, our bad with TJ Tampa not flashing yet? We need those guys to step up. You know, we've got 2 guys down in injury. We need for the other guys to step up. Somebody in this cornerback room has to be ready to step in when called upon. So we'll see. It's early. No overreactions. But this right here is definitely part of what my concerns were after watching this game. But That's all we've got for the ugly, which is good. That was the shortest segment. Plenty of good. We had some bad. We had the ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A great movie, too, if you haven't seen it. I'm a Clint Eastwood fan, so if you don't like Westerns, shame on you. You saw the wrong ones. But the good, the bad, and the ugly, great movie. Check it out sometime. But let's go ahead and get ready for what we have to look forward to. This week, Friday, next stop is in Dallas with them boys. Friday night under the lights in AT&T Stadium. Derrick Henry? Nope. He'll be sitting out. Keaton Mitchell? Nope. After that week one spark, I highly doubt you'll see him. In fact, Keaton Mitchell didn't even practice this past Saturday. So Rashid Ali, well, he shook off a little bang up, but he should be ready for Friday, meaning it could be just Ali and D'Ernest Johnson leading the backfield against this stingy Dallas Cowboys defense this Friday. That's huge for roster battles. But the question is, who steps up? Who shows they belong? The Cowboys? Well, they opened flat this week. If you didn't see that game, just 1 yard in the first quarter, but they've got speed off the edge and something to prove in front of their home crowd. And speaking of proving it, Cooper Rush, we're going to need to see more of you. You know what I mean? I think it's safe to say we won't see as much as of Devin Leary this week. Cooper Rush, if you can't get up against your former team, you get a second chance to make a first impression. Against your old team in their stadium, in front of their fans, if there's ever a moment for his Raven coming out party, this has to be it. So, for Baltimore, it's going to be gut check time for a number of players, including TJ Tampa, Teddye Buchanan. It's going to be time for all of these guys to take their shot in showing that they are the defensive players we need them to rise up to be. August the 16th, it's Cowboys, Ravens, depth battles, redemption shots, roster spots on the line. Don't you blink because it is going to be intense and we're going to be there for every bit of it. I'm Rob Love. So good to have you back here. I told you we were going to have a lot to cover today. Man, are we going to get to 1,000 subscribers? Are we going to get that? We might do it if you hit the button right now. I'm going to see you back. Remember, it's going to be a full season. You will not miss anything here. Thank you for coming. Again, remember, if there's one thing this world will never be too full of, that thing is love. So find somebody that needs a little bit more love in their life and give it to them for it. Remember, we don't fly alone. We fly together. One flock. I'm Rob Love. Thanks for flying with a brother. Let's go.
We take the field as one flock. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Let's go, Ravens, let's go, Ravens.